Hello and welcome to the first tutorial of Coding Playground. We're gonna have some fun with CSS creating a rotating sign. At the right, in the corner, at the right bottom corner, you're gonna see the goal, what we want to achieve today, and that's how it's supposed to look like. And at the upper right corner, we're gonna see the work in progress. So let's dive right into it. We're gonna start with HTML. As you can see, we're having a quite simple structure here, just including a reference to the style sheet, and then we have two span elements here. Why do we have two span elements, you might ask? The reason is quite simple. There are no two-faced elements in HTML. So we need to fake a sign with two sides by showing or animating two separate span elements, or any elements, to be specific. And the trick is gonna be that we animate the first span for the first half of the animation while hiding the second span, and in the second half of the animation we're gonna have the first span is gonna be hidden and the second span is gonna be shown, and in this way we will achieve this animation where it looks like it's a 3D sign with two sides. So let's go to the CSS. As you can see, we set the position of the spans to absolute. That's necessary because later on both spans need to have the exact same position, and that's why you set the position to absolute. And later on, as I told, they're gonna have the same position, but for now they're not gonna have the same position, so we can see both elements at once. Okay, so what do we need to do? We need to set some border, right, to the spans. Let's put 1 pixel, solid and black. Then we want to have a nice background color. Let's use this background color. I've prepared one. Okay, now it should have a border and a background color. Very nice. Great. So furthermore, we want to have a certain width, right, and a certain height. Okay, how does it look like? Perfect. Now the only two things that are missing is a round border and a center line text, right? Perfect. That's what we want to see. Okay, so right now we will continue with the animations. And for the animations, we are gonna define some keyframes. The first animation we are gonna call, and here we can define the steps of the animation. So we're gonna start with the first step, which is called from. Put in here the transform attribute, and let's say we're gonna start the rotation at -90 degree. So let's see how it works, and as you see, it doesn't work at all. That's because first we need to set this animation here as the animation name for the first span, plus we need to set animation duration. So let's say 5 seconds. Okay. And here we go. Here you see we're having our first animation, but there are a couple of problems with the animation. First problem is the animation happens only once. That's why we need to set the animation iteration count, and we will set it to infinite because we don't want it to ever stop. And the second problem is that we don't really see a 3D effect, right? The animation, there is an animation, but it looks like the width of the span just grows from 0 to its maximum width, but there is no 3D effect. And that is because we didn't set a perspective. We can set a perspective here, and as an argument, we will distance from the observer to the observed animated element. So let's set it to 10 pixels, and the shorter the distance, the stronger. So let's start with 10 pixels and see how it goes. Okay, and as you can see, the 3D effect is pretty strong. I would say a little bit too strong for my taste, but it's definitely 3D. Okay, so what happens if you set it to 120? Okay, looking much better now, right? Okay, so let's copy that and create a second animation for the second span. Okay, we're gonna copy also that. Spinner 2, and let's see what happens. Okay, so we have the two spans showing the being animated at the same time. But as you might have noticed, we're not done yet. So what happens here? They start at the minus 90 degree and they end at 0 degree rotation. That's not what we need. We need each and every of the spans to start at minus 90 degree and then rotate until 180, do a 180, and rotate until it appears again, and then the other span can appear and start its animation. So we're gonna write here, let's say 100%, also transform perspective. We're gonna copy that 120 pixels, and we're gonna say rotate y plus 90 degree, and then let's see what happens. Very nice. As you can see, the rotation now goes not only minus 90 degree to 0, but minus 90 degree to plus 90 degree. That's what we want to see, right? I'm going to add the same one to the second span. And as you can see, it's looking much better now. The problem is the animation looks quite weird, right? Because it doesn't have the same speed all over again. So what do we need to do? The speed seems to be fast at the beginning or in the middle and slow in the end. That's not what we want to see. What we want to see is an animation timing function. That's another attribute, another animation attribute. So we set the animation timing function and we set it to linear. So let's see what happens here. Okay, as you can see, now the animation speed seems to be constant. In other words, linear. So that's exactly what we wanted to see. Okay, there is only one thing left that we need to do. As we see right now, both signs are turning all the time. We want to hide the second sign in the first half of the animation and hide the first sign in the second half of the animation, right? Okay, so how do we do it? For the first sign, we say, do that animation, but be finished with it already at 50% of the time of the animation, and for the rest of the time, just don't do anything, because if this transform attribute is fulfilled at 50%, nothing's gonna change until 100%. The rotation's gonna remain 90 degrees. So let's see what happens here. The Biden sign turns and then disappears and then appears again. Perfect. We need to do the same for the second span, but here the other way around. So we say from the beginning to 50%, let's do nothing, right? And from that 50% on until 100%, please do the transformation. So let's see how it goes. First we see the first span rotating, and as soon as the first span's rotation is done, the second span starts rotating. And as soon as the second span's rotation is done, the first span comes again. So that's all what we need. So the last step is setting both at the same position, putting both at the same position, and voila, we're having exactly the sign that we are seeing also at the bottom corner. It looks like a sign that has two sides and it's rotating. So that's it. Thank you for your attention and